Good morning. My name is Minty, and I'm going to be celebrating what we have done as an industry in terms of the improvement of representation and inclusion of disabled people on our screens. And then I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Steph.
And I'm Steph Lacey, and I'm going to bring us straight back down to earth and tell us how far we've got to go.
I have a clicker. There we go. That's great. I should say this is a personal take in certain areas. Why have I been passionate about this? So I grew up 70s, 80s. There was two things going on. There's something called the mirror image, where if you are different and then you see people like you, that can be quite startling. That can be quite difficult because you hold up, do I look like that? That was compounded by what I would see of myself on our screens. There's Fantasy Island, R2-D2, the Disneys and so on. And it was always fantasy, so it was never real, or it was comedic, and I didn't even do that, where we were the butt of the joke. And that's quite difficult. I've got mirror image going on, do I look like that? And then I've got nothing that feels representative. Some quirk of fate, or I thought I needed to do something when I'm a little bit older. And we whiz forward. Oh, there we go. I think there might be a couple of people who were in that picture, beyond me. This is 2002. It was the launch of the Broadcasters Disability Manifesto. We had manifestos then. 30 pages, loads of information. Mark Thompson was then chief exec of Channel 4. It's Greg Dyke. I saw him last night. We had the minister. This was a big launch. And the idea was to change and to progress. What I've done for the purposes of today is whittle those 30 pages into 5 words. And I've stolen this, adapted it from the TV Access project, which is very current and you'll be involved in. And they have their 5 A's, which I'm going to try and do from memory, which is anticipate, ask, assess, adjust, and advocate. I'm going to go through some of my favorite bits that have happened. Let's go back a few years. It's late summer 2012. The London Olympics had just been, and they were amazing. And I remember driving on the A40 through central London, and there was this big billboard, and it said, "Thanks for the warm-up, Paralympics are coming." Now, I'm pretty confident about disability, but I went, oh no, we have really, set our stall out here. This is real confidence around it. And I was nervous. I thought, what if this falls flat? Channel 4 did an amazing job. I still maintain this was a seismic moment in a shift of the perception of disability. I need to qualify that. The Paralympians are a small percentage of disabled people. Lots of us read books or watch TV and go to the park. Not all of us are athletes, but I still think it shifted something, and it was really powerful. And then personally, there was a couple of things. There was Ellie Simmons, who has dwarfism. She was the poster girl, and I could see it. I could see this representation that was cool. And even more personally, it just made me more confident to wear my bikini again, and I was thrilled about that. Second word is ask. I can be at home, I turn on my TV, it doesn't matter what time of day or night, I could be watching the drama, I could be watching Question Time, I could be watching comedy, a travel show. There is a disabled person on it. It is invariably Rosie Jones, admittedly, but that's a good thing. It means we are doing this, and she's popping up, and she's representative. So the asking bit, to ask us to get involved and be part of it, is fantastic, across all genres, and I adore this. A little moment of qualification. I'm seeing this amazing stuff, and then there was a little blip for me in 2011. And I have to be really careful here, because individuals are allowed to do whatever they want to do with their lives. But I couldn't quite work out the Seven Dwarfs show. It felt a bit voyeuristic, it felt a bit old, it felt like, I don't know, maybe you made it, and I'm sorry if you did, but there was something that just went, no, we've slipped back a little bit. And then I fast forward to 2020, and I come across Crypt Tales. Now, full-on title, written, produced, directed, acted, all by differently disabled people. The qualification, it was a one-off, a set of shows, but they were short, and we haven't done it again yet. I know ITV looked at it, so maybe come back. But it was authored, it was personal, it was real, and we could tell our stories, and I thought that was amazing. Strictly is this, I read an article, this quietly progressive juggernaut. I don't know if there's too many contradictions in that. The stuff it's done in terms of inclusion and representation. I would just jump forward. I had a huge discussion with a colleague who's disabled about Ellie being on that and the pros and cons of it. But the one that shifted the dial, I think, was Rose rocking up. Now, adjustments were made. British Sign Language interpreter, which everybody loves because they're very exciting. But they were there. You could see them, but they weren't the main thing. It was just there. It was natural. She needed it. And then there was that moment where her and Giovanni are dancing, and the music stops for 20 seconds, and they just carry on. Now, Steph and I know that stuff, but in terms of the public consciousness, this was really, really powerful stuff. And I know you like television that's talked about, and I think it was voted the most, I don't know, most talked about or the most pivotal moment of that year. And that's Strictly, and that was deaf inclusion, beautifully, beautifully done. I've spent 20 years knocking on doors, coming to events, going to dinners, doing training, and advocating, but from the outside. So trying to deal with the challenges and the pushbacks and exploring it. Something that's shifted in the last 20 years that I'm really pleased about. I can't name everybody, but there are so many good individuals and initiatives and schemes that are happening. One of my favorite is a person called Nicola Gard. I've known her for years. She's short like me. The bit I love, she works in the BBC, and she knows television. She's really good at television. She's also someone who can talk about disability confidently as well. So you've got your perfect double whammy. And now the advocating isn't just me on the outside. The advocating is coming from within your industries, within your organizations, and that's fantastic. If you wheel back, Mark Thompson, he left Channel 4, and I followed him, nagging him at BBC. And then he went to the New York Times, and I saw in the New York Times disability stories started popping up. And I thought, hello, we've got him. He's into this, he's okay with it, and I love it. He's at CNN now, and I'm waiting to see what that sort of advocacy that he has taken on board, where that will go. I'm not sure what year this was. I do know I'd finished university, I'd done my philosophy degree, I was ready to change the world. I was a hippie, clearly, with my hair. And someone interviewed me, and I said, you know, I know it will change when we have a short person on EastEnders, and we have a wheelchair user who's presenting Blue Peter. Oh, hello. Lisa Hammond, the actor, pops up. Long-running character, regular returning character. She's short like me, just part of the fabric, amazing. And then, even more recently, Abby Cook rocks up on Blue Peter as a presenter. By the way, I was told, can't have a wheelchair user on Blue Peter because in our auditioning process, you need to be able to bounce up and down on a trampoline whilst interviewing someone. I'm pleased to say they've relaxed that essential criteria of the job, and there is Abby. Now, when I found that quote from me and then I've seen this, I'm kind of thinking, well, my work here is done. I can happily retire.
I think let's not retire just yet. I think there's still work to be done. You've pointed to some examples of people who are on screen there, but in a society where 20% of the population identifies as deaf, disabled, or neurodivergent, or DDN to you from here, we still, even if we doubled the current level of representation, wouldn't have equal or proportional inclusion on TV. The Diamond Report that monitors underrepresented groups in television found that 6.5% of off-screen talent were identified as DDN and 8% of on-screen talent identified as DDN. So even if we doubled the numbers we're currently at, we still wouldn't be at that proportional representation. Admittedly, we've come a long way from where we started, pretty much zero. But I want to ask you to think about how we've reached those statistics. How have we reached 8.8% on screen? Is it by real, meaningful inclusion, or is it by giving a disabled person 2 lines in one scene across a whole series? I still don't see many disabled people who are allowed to lead series or be really strong developed characters in series that are not specifically about disability. And off-screen, where have we got those 6.5% representation from that we have currently got? Is it by DDN people being allowed to lead shows, direct and produce, or is a large number of that people who are on shadowing schemes or in junior positions? When I was on Stay Close on Netflix, I was in 6 episodes, not to brag, and I got messages from across the globe of people who were saying how exciting it was to see a disabled person on TV and that I was actually disabled. This shouldn't still be remarkable. We shouldn't still be able to be excited that one of us is in, but we are. And I think for me, what that speaks to is a pervasive lack of trust in disabled people. We're still seen as a mysterious, mythical, and risky other, but it doesn't have to be that way because we're all right, aren't we? I work for BAFTA award-winning company CCC, who work to increase the representation of disabled people in the arts and screen industries. And we have a network of over 1,800 DDN artists. So you don't have to worry about where to find us anymore. We're right here, but we do need you to trust us. I realise that I've gone very school teacher. And I also recognise that for a lot of people, the fear of getting it wrong prevents people trying to get it right or trying to include us at all. So I hope you've got your pen and papers, because I'm going to give you some solutions to alleviate those fears today. Training. Help people remove the fear of working with DDN talent by equipping them with the language, attitudes, and approaches to working with us. I regularly run access training with CCC for broadcasters, productions, cast and crew, where the penny drops, where it's a moment you can remove the fear, ask questions, and do that without judgment. Make that a part of your practice. Writers. Let us be the voice of our own narration. Let us tell our own stories, yes, but also let us tell other people's stories too. Trust us beyond a pilot. Trust us like you trust other writers with other people's stories. I've heard countless times, we'll get you in when we've got a disability story. But like all of you, I live through the daily human existence, and annoying as that is. And I would like to be trusted as much as other writers to tell those stories too. CCC have made an accessible writer's room guidance, which is available on their website and really helpful in addressing that. Execs, commissioners, trust us enough to lead. Make sure disabled people are giving a seat at the decision-making table. Some of us will even bring our own seats, which is a bargain. You're welcome. Actors, consider us for all roles, not just waiting for when specifically a disabled character has been written. Look through your casting lists or give guidance to your casting departments to look through those lists and look at who could be played by a disabled actor. Where there's no legitimate reason why it couldn't be a DDN creative, trust us enough to bring us in the room and see us for those roles. What's most exciting for me also is incidental representation, where the character has nothing, the portrayal of the character is really nothing to do with disability beyond the actor who's playing them. You also, as an added bonus, won't have to worry that you've written them as a disabled stereotype because you'll have just written them as a character. Bring us in for all roles. Trust us enough to play them and trust us enough to entertain your audiences too. Crew. Provide opportunities for disabled crew to train, but don't assume that everyone is working in a junior position. Most people have found ways to adjust their working practices. You just need to ask, adjust, and make sure these are implemented. We, like everybody else, want to make the best show possible. So if you strive to make your environment inclusive and accessible, then we will also bring our A game. Keep an open dialogue so everybody can come to you with their requirements and we can all make the best show. Access coordinators. Embed access coordinators in your production from the start. They're a new role in the industry, but who can facilitate access requirements for all cast and crew. Working with them makes it so much easier to implement these changes and these requirements. I've just stopped. But don't take that as a don't trust us. I just stopped for a second. If you make it accessible from the start, then you won't have to worry about where you can include DDN talent. You can just do that as part of the process as you go along. CCC, along with our wonderful delivery partners, are running an access coordinator scheme this year for a new cohort of access coordinators. So come and talk to us, and we can talk about how we can facilitate that. A great example of where this worked beautifully was on Ralph and Katie for the BBC. It was a show with two learning disabled leads and a lot of disabled crew working behind the scenes. They worked with an access coordinator and made a beautiful and entertaining show that took everybody's needs into account and made sure that the working environment was suitable for them. Brazen Productions even produced legacy documents, so they're on their website and you can access those to make your productions accessible too. So, there's still a lot of work to be done. So I think don't retire just yet. But I think it will take a concerted and intentional effort to include us, but we can do it.
Okay, I'll keep going. I sensed last night you made me and Steph very welcome. There's something happening, and maybe in this room you are very comfortable and very relaxed about this. When you looked at picture 2002, I was the exact age that Steph is now. I'm kind of wondering whether this is the next phase, so we go ahead and this is the call to action.
Yeah, and I beg you to listen to what I've just said, because I don't want to still be doing this at his age. Please. Please don't make me do it again all this time.
Well, why is there clapping? Why don't you just clap that?
I think what's exciting though is there's so much unity, it feels like, at the moment in television. We've got TAP, where the broadcasters and streamers coming together to create guidance. Our Access Coordinator project is run by a great group of disabled-led companies who are coming together to make it accessible. So I think we're creating a more united space where we can have these discussions, and I think that's hopeful for the future, but I think it would need to be intentional.
And your agent story?
Oh, yes. There are still some situations where we are very much excluded. Like somebody I was spoken to the other day was speaking to a new agent, hoping to find representation, and the agent said, I can't have a disabled person, I've already got one. So I think that just sort of sums up where we actually are.
Because I'm celebrating. I met with a very high-level agent, and I said, I'm nervous. I'm nervous because we've done so much great stuff, and it's really happening in the last couple of years. Something's really moving. What if it all fades away again? What if it's a flash in the pan? And she said, I don't think it is. She said, I think we're embarrassed as an industry that it's taken us so long to get involved in this. The flip side of it is perhaps opening a whole new area of creativity as well. And that reassured me, that made me feel better. So that is it from us. Thank you so much for listening. Come find us, we can talk to you. We want to go to the next step with all the stuff that is already happening. But thank you.